Hi, welcome to another episode of Heart Jar Moments. I'm Gina D. I'm the founder of Healing Heart TV, and this is the series where I pull little pieces of paper out of this jar where I've written down some life lessons and experiences that I've had that I feel may be helpful to you, might help spark some interest in you, might spark an idea, or remind you of something that you already know that you just needed to be reminded of in order for you to have a more joyful and expansive day. So today is a little bit different. I want to, instead of pulling a new one out of the jar, I wanted to follow up on my previous episode, which was about connecting with groups that are in alignment with you. I realized, I talked about how we should really find out what it is that we're interested in and what we're joyful about first, and then seek groups that are like-minded. But as the week went on, and after I did the episode, I realized, it wasn't quite hitting the mark that I wanted to hit. So I've also had an experience this week that helped me realize that. I traveled on Tuesday all day, delayed flights. It took about 15 hours to get from LA to Ohio, which takes usually 5. So I had a lot of time to think. I had a lot of time to watch some series that I get inspiration from. And one of them in particular is called Chase Jarvis Live. He's an incredible creative, and he was interviewing Brene Brown. And if you're familiar with Brene Brown, she has written several books on shame and vulnerability, which sounds maybe kind of off or down, but it's not at all. It really helps us dig in and open up and break down the walls of who we really are and how to stand in that and be authentic with ourselves. And that's honestly really very much alignment with what I'm doing in this series. So, they were talking about, she has a new book, and the title of the new book, and I'm using my little notebook today for reference, because there are some specific things I really want to make sure I tell you. But her new book is called Braving the Wilderness. And it's not about, an expedition outside in the woods. It's about braving the wilderness with inside of you. So let me go back to the beginning of this year, because that's really where the journey started for this whole process. After last year's political season, it was very challenging, I know, for many people on both sides of the spectrum. And I came out of it feeling like it was a necessary time for me to stand up and speak out my truth on what I thought about social justice and politics and some things. But what I realized was the more I focused on it, the worse I felt inside. And I was aligning myself with people who thought like I did, and I was expressing my own agenda and opinions, even though I still believe in them very much so, but I don't feel that espousing them is a way to help create change in the world. And I did alienate some people that I care about at the beginning of the year, and they were on the different side of the political spectrum, and they felt that some of my statements were hurtful towards them. And that was not good. That's not the person I want to be, and that's not how I want to move in the world. I want to move from a space of love. So when I talked about finding groups that you're in alignment with earlier this week, what I've recognized and what sparked in me from the conversation with Chase Jarvis and Brene Brown is there's no way that separating ourselves into different groups is going to get us out of the situation we are in now with fear and hurt and anger towards each other. It's impossible. And I know it's impossible because energetically you can't align yourself with fear and can't align yourself with hate to create something good. It's impossible. It's actually a scientific quantum physics impossibility. And I can go into that deeper, but I'm not going to do that right now in this episode. I think what I really want to express is, You know, if we align ourselves with people who are hating the things we are hating, we're not creating connection between us and the other person that hates the same thing that we hate. All we're doing is broadening the energy of hate. And quite honestly, I personally do not feel any better when I align myself with the group of people that hates what I hate. All I'm doing is feeling more separate, even though I'm in that group. So what I need to do first is go inside alone by myself and really feel love and energy and connect with that love energy. And then I need to stand out here in front of you guys, in front of this camera by myself with love. And that's all that's going to create more love for me. That's what raises my energy through the day. That's what gives me joy. You know, I just have never received a good feeling, even from, I do believe in social justice. I honestly do. And I don't like the idea that people are suffering, whether it's financial or abuse or sex abuse or all those things. And I know probably 99.9% of people feel that way. But we're just getting divided into these groups that saying, well, it's got to be this particular way that we achieve that. And that's not helping. It's really not. So just a couple notes that I made based on that episode. One that I really liked, a comment that Brene said is, separation does not create connection. So that's just what I've been talking about, is like we cannot create stronger connection if we separate ourselves into these groups of left-wing, right-wing politics, Muslim, Christian, black, white, gay, straight, all of it. It's just not going to happen. Because if it was going to happen, it would have happened already. We've been doing it for hundreds of years, and it doesn't work. So I fully believe that whatever's happening right now is just an opportunity for us to go deeper with inside of ourselves, not to go deeper outside of ourselves and creating that situation that feeds the hate. You know, I'm pausing here because this is an important episode for me. And I hope for you too, especially as we're approaching Christmas. You know, we're like 4 days away from Christmas, 3 days away from Christmas Eve. I'm here in Ohio and making sure that I still do these. And really, truly, the spirit of Christmas isn't about putting up with, you know, the people you love in your life and their different beliefs. It's not about putting up. It's about looking for the connection of the love that you share within your heart. If you closed your eyes and you couldn't see all the stuff around you and you couldn't see the color of their skin and you couldn't see or didn't hear about the politics, that's why we don't talk about politics and religion at family gatherings, because politics and religion are meant to separate us. That's why there's so many different religions. That's why there's so many different forms of politics. It's meant to separate us. And I know some of you who are, you know, who are deeply religious, and mean no disrespect to your religion at all whatsoever. So please don't take it that way, and please don't comment that that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I want to connect with you through your heart, pure one-to-one, and that's it. And same with the political spectrum. You know, those of you who voted differently than I do, or, you know, support different causes than I do, I want to connect with you through my heart, because that's how we're going to make a better world. So that's really what I want to say, and that's what I want us to think about. There was one thing, you know, two things. Ask yourself, just inquire with me. You know, you don't have to take what I'm saying and for my face value, at the face value. Don't take what I'm saying and just go with it. Search yourself. Compare. How do you feel after you've aligned and talked about, you know, how things shouldn't be this way, and you know, we should, whatever the political situation is, whatever the group is, whatever the social injustice is that you're fighting against, how do you feel when you're spouting that on Facebook? How do you feel in your heart, not in your head, not in your logic, but just you alone in your heart? How does it feel? compared to how would it feel if you sat and you focused on pure love energy. And this isn't soft. This isn't easy. This isn't putting your head in the sand. This is about going within, because there's way too much separation without. And if you could go within and feel whole and stand strong in your truth with a soft voice and love and energy in your intention, I bet you might be surprised at some of the connection you make. Another little quick tidbit on what happened to me this week. I was in the airport at one of my connections, and I was sitting next to a woman who we just, started chit-chatting a little bit about the delays, because we all had delayed flights. And the energetic was going to go down the route of, oh, this is terrible, and all the complaining that could go on with that. But I really wanted to focus on how can I bring some lightened energy to the situation for myself and for her, so she would feel maybe some joy and some security and safety while she was traveling. She was traveling alone. She was escorted. She had a wheelchair escort. She was going to see her kids. So we started talking a little bit. And this woman who all of a sudden came up, started talking to the man next to her, and she said with a very frantic voice, "There's a man down around the corner who's having a heart attack, and the paramedics are there, and the bathrooms are shut, so I have to go to a different bathroom." And she kind of looked at us to engage in it, and the terrible feeling that it was presenting. And she was like, "Oh my God, it was terrible. He was turning yellow," and all these things. And I immediately thought to myself, okay, I don't want to feed into the drama of it, but I want to send a loving intention of health and vitality to the man and to the people who were around working on him. And I just focused on that and then let it go. I didn't want to be dramatic about it, because I didn't want to feed that energy of stress and fear. It's really about fear, because then I would start feeling the fear, and I would start processing chemicals and hormones in my own body that would create a flight or flight response. And that's what happens. So I started talking, to the woman again, and she said, "Oh, my son was on a flight once, and the flight attendant actually had a heart attack and passed away on the flight. And it was very sad." But she said, he said he couldn't believe how nice people could be. And I looked at her and I said, that's why we have to be nice to each other now, before those situations happen, and feed love to each other. And I engaged her in their eyes, and I could see a little twinkle in her eye. And she said, yeah, she goes, people could just be so mean, and it's just, people are more mean than they've ever been nowadays. And I thought, and I didn't even just think this, I said this to her, I said, I really feel that the reason we're seeing people be mean is they're not really mean because they want to be mean. I said they're mean because they're afraid, because we're being fed fear constantly. Constantly. You're being fed fear on the news, in the papers, on Twitter, everywhere. You're being fed fear. So you have a choice. Do you want to consume the fear, or do you want to project the love? And so we started talking about that, and I just was really intentional about what energy am I giving to her. And it wasn't like I was lecturing her or anything like that. I just wanted to bring it up in conversation. And we did, and we had a great conversation about it, and we had a real human connection. She looked at me in the eye, she smiled, she thought, that's the way, yeah, you're right, yeah, I don't want to feel fear. And then it was time for me to get up, and I left, and I looked at her, and we just had a really wonderful moment. So that's how, we can connect. We don't want to feed the fear. So don't feed the fear. You don't need to. You are a loving energy right inside, and I know it. I see it in you. I see it in myself first. That's how I know it's in you as well. So this was a longer one, definitely a little bit more intense, not quite as upbeat, but very important. I want it to leave a mark on you. I really want to set the intention of love and energy going in your heart today, right here, right now, as you're hearing me, so that your holiday season is joyful and bright, no matter what happens. You know, it's going to be a challenge for some of you, and there are some things that are going to happen that you might not particularly like, but just go back within and feel the love energy in your heart, and it'll be a better, beautiful holiday, and I'm sure you'll make it really special for somebody else when you do that as well. So this is the last one before Christmas. Please comment, and like I said, please think about your comment. If you disagree with me, really just take some time and think about it. That's one of the things I've been practicing as well on Facebook, and I just recommend it. So yeah, I hope you adhere to that. Anyways, comment and share, like Healing Heart TV, the page. This is just one small series of many that are going to come out this year, and I really am about bringing knowledge that I'm gaining, bringing information that I'm hearing, all in the mission of helping you express your soul's joyful purpose. So happy holidays to you, and make it the most beautiful, joyful one you can. Thanks so much.